So let's talk about what is going on with ESPN. Obviously, we know that JJ Redick is gone, and they're going to have to find a replacement now to pair with Mike Breen and Doris Burke. Now, going back to last summer, there was a lot of controversy with Jeff Van Gundy being let go and Mark Jackson being let go. Now, Jeff Van Gundy went onto the Mark Jackson show and talked about the experience, how it was very hard for him, that, he had to deal with his son leaving the house and leaving his wife and him as empty nesters. And then he lost somebody to a death in August. I can't remember the name. I don't want to get the context wrong. But it was a very hard time for him. And he said on the show that the Celtics extended him a lifeline. And the reason why he said that, because ESPN, when they fired Jeff Van Gundy, and we're going to play the clip from Stan Van Gundy, what he had to say about the situation, that ESPN let him go when coaches' spots were filled, roster spots were made, organization roles were filled, and it was just bad timing. It caught Jeff Van Gundy off guard. And they could have done this a lot sooner or a lot earlier, so he can have an opportunity to transition from ABC and ESPN to have a role. And thank God the Celtics came in, because he bragged about them, said they supported him, he felt welcomed, he felt heard. And that's a big shout out to the culture of the Boston Celtics. Shout out to Brad Stevens and Joe Mazzulla and what they're building there. So we're going to play the clip with Stan Van Gundy and what he had to say about the situation. I'll give you more of my thoughts.
Your brother was let go by ESPN. He was very classy about it, quiet. I don't think he had anything to say about it. Understands that it's a business, but I understood at ESPN that it was a business too, and it didn't make it hurt less when I was caught off guard by that. What do you say to him in that spot when he leaves ESPN? Do you have anything to give him solace?
Well, I don't know that I could give him solace, and he was hurt by it. I mean, he'd worked for them for 17 years, and it wasn't even just the fact that they made the move. I mean, they him. I mean, the timing was awful. They waited until basically the NBA market in terms of coaching jobs, assistants jobs, front office jobs was already gone by to make the move, and then they, delayed on a buyout that would free him to work for people. I mean, after 17 years of being in arguably, I don't even know if it's arguably, the best, game broadcast booth in the business in basketball, and being the kind of person he is, ESPN on him. And so all I could do was basically tell him that that's how I saw the situation, and I felt awful for him. Listen, you're in this business and you're the same. I mean, this stuff happens in business. We've all been through it. We've been fired and everything else, but there's ways to do it and ways not to do it. I mean, I've been fired 4 times as a coach, and, the one in Detroit, the guy handled it great. I mean, and so I feel a lot differently about him than I do about the other 3. And I thought ESPN was absolutely miserable to him after what he had given them for 17 years.
I'm thinking he would advise you not to say any of that.
Oh, yeah. He would be upset. When he finds out that I said it, he'll be upset, and that's okay. I mean, it was like the other day, Jose Pineda, who the Spanish broadcaster for the Miami Heat, he said to Brian Anderson before the game, he said, hey, when you guys say the Heat are undermanned, he said, Eric doesn't want you to say that. He doesn't like it if you say that. And I'm thinking like, okay, I love Eric, but, they're still undermanned and we're still going to say it. So, yeah, my brother wouldn't be happy if I was saying this, but it's what happened, and that's what I'm going to say. And you know what? I don't think anybody who knows the situation would disagree with me at all.
Now, as you saw from Stan Van Gundy, this guy had a lot to say. And when you're somebody's brother or sibling, you're going to stand up for them. So shout out to him. But what ESPN is doing to their brand and their show, they're ridiculous to me, because you had a great partnership with Breen, with Mark Jackson, and Stan Van Gundy. And to see that disappear, and you got to rebuild and bring attention from fans, it's going to be hard to do. Now, I think Doris Burke is great, and I like Mike Breen, but eventually you got to look around and go, who can we replace? Now, JJ Redick, filled that role. I thought he did a good job, but now he's with the Lakers. And my thoughts are this, that was just really bad how they treated Jeff Van Gundy. How he's bounced back has been a great scene. I think he was the consultant for the Celtics. I can't remember the exact position he was in, but he played a role in helping this team, win that championship. To go from that to being assistant coach with the Los Angeles Clippers, seems like greener pastures are ahead for him. Now, the timing of this firing doesn't look good on ESPN's part, because if you know that roles are being filled and you're planning to fire this guy, do it sooner. I know there was a massive firing last year because, Disney, they've lost money and they're tied to ESPN. So there's going to be cuts for jobs anyway. So if you knew this, why wait so long? Now, Jeff Van Gundy has been professional about this whole time, rag on ESPN. His brother did. He was like, man, they treat him like, as you saw in that video, like really like dirt. And he's not a fan of that. But this is just another example of why I don't like everything that ESPN does. They brought people in where I have question marks like Kendrick Perkins. Like his takes can be nauseating to watch. Stephen A. Smith, I used to like him, but as I've begun to work on this podcast and really look at it from a different perspective, I don't like the way he bullies different players. Like he's fighting with people on Twitter, and he's always constantly calling out players when they don't agree with him and they try to correct him, and it's just a big mess. But yeah, shout out to Jeff Van Gundy, because it seems like he's bouncing back. Hopefully he does well with the Clippers. I know they're going through a lot of changes right now with the new stadium. Paul George just opted out of his contract today. We'll see what happens with his situation. Kawhi Leonard, can he stay healthy? Who knows? But him taking that job, hope it works out for him, for real. Good to see Mark Jackson having his own show. These guys are a big part of, building the NBA. And to watch them just out of the media, not having a role is just pretty hard to watch. Inside the NBA is going to be ending next year. Charles Barkley has already come out and said this is his last year. So a lot of faces we're used to seeing are moving on. It's good because you need new faces to step up. But, you want to find people who can stick around as well. So that's going to be a big challenge for ESPN going forward, especially with the NBA Finals coverage. It's going to be interesting to see what they do there. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what Stan Van Gundy had to say about how ESPN treated his brother so badly. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.